Hello, this is Dennis Pullis. Welcome to another Open Philosophy video. This video is going to be the first in a series on knowledge. In this part, I'll be focusing on the difference between knowledge and belief. There are different kinds of knowledge. For example, there's knowing how to do something, which is basically behavioral. A dog can know how to do something without being aware of what it's doing. The kind of knowledge that I'm discussing is intellectual knowledge, which means being aware of something. If I ask, "Do you know that house?" you think, "Yes, I've seen that house, I'm aware of it." I want to contrast intellectual knowledge to belief. The distinction of knowledge from belief is long-standing. Aquinas, for example, is very clear on what can be known by reason and what is known only through faith. I'm not speaking of knowledge through faith. Faith, or belief, is a commitment, and a commitment is an act of will. I choose to commit, or at least I allow myself to be committed, but I can commit to things that I'm not aware of. The criteria for knowledge and the criteria for belief are quite different. For knowledge, I need some kind of experience. I need to be aware of what it is that I know. For belief, I need to make a commitment. The criteria for making a commitment is this worthy of my commitment? A commitment requires that I know the meaning of what I'm committing to, but it does not require that I know the fact of what I'm committing to. I need not be aware of the reality that I'm committing to. On the other hand, I can't know something without being aware of it. Now, I can be aware of things directly or indirectly. I can be aware of things because they have affected others and others have communicated their awareness to me. And so my awareness, my knowledge can be indirect through other people, or it can be direct and first-hand. Either way, there's a distinction between what comes to me through human experience and what I merely commit to without having experienced or without the experience of others being communicated to me. Contemporary philosophers generally define knowledge to be justified true belief. That means that knowledge is a kind of belief to them. However, we'll see that this is an indefensible position. That knowledge is not a species of belief can be seen by examining their contraries. Red is a species of light. The contrary of light, darkness, involves the exclusion of red. If knowledge were a species of belief, then the contrary of belief, which is doubt, would exclude knowledge. But clearly this is not the case. When Descartes wrote on methodological doubt, he knew that he was sitting in his room writing. Yet he chose to doubt it. Since he could both know and doubt that he was in his room at the same time, doubt does not exclude knowledge, and knowledge is therefore not a species of belief. Again, let's look at the contraries of knowledge and of belief. The contrary of knowledge is ignorance. The contrary of belief is doubt. In order to doubt some proposition, I have to consider the proposition. But in order to be ignorant of a proposition, no consideration is necessary. Therefore, the contraries of knowledge and of belief do not have the same relationship to each other. So, knowledge is not a form of belief. A consequence of this is that Cartesian doubt calls belief into question, but it doesn't call knowledge into question, because doubt is refusing to commit to a proposition even if we know it is true. So Cartesian doubt doesn't call knowledge into question. It merely suspends our commitment to what we know. We can know something and still doubt it. People can know that they're overdrawn at the bank but not believe it, and so write bad checks. We can have knowledge in the absence of belief. And of course we can have belief in the absence of knowledge. So while knowledge and belief may be correlated, they're very different, and they don't imply each other one way or the other. As I said, the criterion for belief is worthiness. Is what we're believing worthy of belief? There are several ways in which something can be worthy of belief. We can believe something because we trust the person who's telling us, or we can believe something because the content of what we believe leads to moral rectitude and resonates with our innate moral sensibilities, or we can believe because the evidence is compatible with what we believe and it is practical to do so. This is the case for science. It's practical for us to believe that a hypothesis which is simple and not contradicted by any of the facts and which predicts reality is true, but in fact we do not know that the hypothesis is true. It is simply worthy of our belief. Thus, a great deal of the content that we are committed to is the result of acts of belief, acts of trust in other people, acts of trust in content, and acts of commitment because what we're committing to is practical and useful. All beliefs, however, whether relational, religious, or scientific, cease to be worthy of belief when something which we know contradicts them. In science, this is called falsification. In personal relationships, it's called breaking trust. It is simply irrational to believe something which we know to be false. We need to be careful, however, to distinguish between what we know to be false and what we merely believe to be false. It's quite possible that one belief that we have could contradict another. When push comes to shove, we'll have to choose which one we want to commit to and which one we don't. This choice of commitment, our prioritization, is often confused with some kind of probability. Many philosophers believe in probabilistic reasoning, in the sense that we can assign mathematical values to the probability of various propositions. However, there is no rational basis for doing so. However, it is true that we are more strongly committed to some propositions than to others, and this means that when there is a conflict, we are going to stick with what we are more firmly committed to and abandon what we are less firmly committed to. The firmness of commitment, however, cannot be assigned a probabilistic value, and the idea of probabilistic reasoning mathematically quantified seems to me to be indefensible. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.